Alright everyone, we start off today, link in the description, not archived because this is a tweet from me, so you should interact with it and shit. We gotta look at the early voting results that we've got, and there are a couple of caveats when we look at this number here. It comes from Scott Pressler, so this is a verified source of proper information. He's down there like constantly trying to get people registered, although right now Scott Pressler I think has a health issue that causes anemia problems, so I think he's still on bed rest at the moment. He's sidelined. I'm sure that this is, by the way, frustrating for him because he works himself like a dog. He's got to work 60 hours a week. Respect that dude. Also, he's got the cool long hair thing going on, so good health to him. Good of him, by the way, to supply these numbers. Right now, as of yesterday morning, in Florida, we have some early voting results. Now, this does not tabulate the actual vote. It tabulates the party registry of the people returning ballots in this race. This is for early voting only, so the midterms are in several weeks. Right now you have 321,909 GOP ballots that have been returned. You have 349,886 Democratic Party ballots returned. Again, that's not the actual vote. That's the registry of the person that's returning the ballot. Typically speaking, in early voting, the Democrats have a hefty advantage. It can be massively lopsided. This doesn't even get close to double digits. The Democrats right now are probably looking at this, and you have high turnout in early voting already. If that high turnout is not resulting in a considerable advantage for the Democrats in any competitive state, and Florida's close to a 50-50 sum game, I think the Democrats may perform a little bit better than this in like maybe Georgia or something, possibly Arizona, but I can't imagine it's going to be by a big margin. If they're looking at a 5-digit difference when you have well over 500,000 total ballots returned, and not an overwhelmingly large one, so that it's a single-digit differential, the Democrats are cruising for a bruise, and at least in Florida, we can't necessarily extrapolate that data elsewhere. There may be some people who returned a GOP ballot who flipped and voted Dem, and of course not everyone votes, straight R or straight D on their ballot anyway. There are probably also people who are registered as Democrats but then voted in part or whole for Republicans. We don't have those numbers. We're not going to know until the final tabulation. I will say that the Democrats must have alarm bells going off right now at the DNC and DCCC. They want a much bigger gap than a few tens of thousands of votes with that many early voting ballots that have been returned. High turnout, you would think, traditionally helps the Democrats. This has been a repeat feature. You have in Georgia, you've got numbers that are similar to 2018, for example. But the differential in the registry on those ballots is totally different. If that turns out to be the case, then it definitely shows an enthusiasm gap that helps Republicans. The GOP typically has more people that want to go in on Election Day itself and vote same day. They want to go in person. Part of this is due to the Trump effect. Trump has told them, there's honking going on. Vote in person. Make sure everything's fine. Don't trust the U.S. mail effectively. Don't use a drop-off location. If despite that, and despite the Democrats harping on Roe v. Wade, Dobbs, etc., has not created a significant differential in the early voting that's going on. In a state like Florida that is hyper-competitive, or at least they've conceived of it as being, they still think DeSantis is going to lose. At this point, looking at these numbers, it's like the moonshot or something. It's virtually certain not to happen. I think Chris will lose by at least 5 points. It could be 10. If that trickles down ballot, by the way, and impacts multiple states, and I can't imagine it wouldn't impact other competitive states, by the way, even if you're assuming that part of that is a bump in approval for DeSantis, specifically because of the border crisis, the migrant thing, Martha's Vineyard exposing the hypocrisy of the NIMBYist, DeSantis tends to be more noteworthy than some candidates. He gets a lot of national attention, too. The Democrats, though, looking at that and analyzing the numbers, even if they don't say anything, they have to be more than a little bit concerned with regards to the early voting results so far. We'll get further tabulations before the midterms themselves, but only a couple. We'll probably get an update next week. That's pretty much the last one before you're in the end game. In the last few days, of course, you've gone past any October surprises or anything like that. you're getting very close to that mark. Now, October's waning. Pretty soon it'll be another 365 days until Halloween. Saddest part of the year, the 1st of November. Of course, we've got midterms to look forward to, so that helps ease my pain of not being able to have pumpkins and bats and Jesus in the background anymore. They must be crapping themselves. I was looking at this, I was astonished. I would have expected it to be near a six-figure difference. With that many votes cast, it wouldn't be historically abnormal, at least over the last few decades, if the Democrats in the early voting returns had a six-figure lead. Or at least close to it, a lead of 60, maybe 70,000 votes. A considerable margin. That would be sort of their break-even point because they have to counterbalance what happens on the actual election day, where the Republicans will outperform them. Every poll points towards it. There's no barometer by which that's not going to happen in most states, including states that lean blue, by the way, because so many Democrats prefer to do it early. They prefer early voting or voting by mail. If that is not the case, if your gap is less than 30,000 votes out of that gigantic sum, 700,000 votes cast just about, then they have basically no chance. I mean, I'm assuming that this must demoralize some Democrats even looking at these numbers. It might get some of them out to the polls. Oh shit, we're not ahead by nearly enough. If they have any understanding of, recent electoral history, then that would be the indicator. Oh shit, I was thinking about sitting it out. It's kind of dreary outside. I think that I'm going to go and file my ballot today. It's possible. For everyone that does that, though, there's another person that says, oh, fuck this. They recognize, they see the writing on the wall maybe, and they say, I'm not even going to fucking bother. Yeah, I've got a stubbed toe. I don't really want to go out today. Maybe I'll get to it in the next week. And then, they forget about it. Their ballot ends up gathering dust. They find it years later. They put it into a frame, and then they claim, well, I voted for the good guys or something. And I have a feeling that this is not being taken as good news by the Democratic Party. Again, looking at past results, not just in Florida, but in other states, you would expect a bigger gap than that. It's an advantage for the Democrats. It's just one that, that's a small town's worth of population with getting up there towards 1 million ballots already cast in the state of Florida. And you can't expect that you're not going to have outperformance by the GOP. They're up 3 points now in the congressional generic ballot, by the way. They're having an 11th hour surge at exactly the right moment. Pro tip, that's because the economy is bad. We will be getting a couple more economic indicators right before people vote. We're going to get the Q3 numbers. I don't think it's going to be particularly good. I think it'll come in under expectations. They're getting hammered for this. You also, every time that there's news with regards to the border or crime, gas prices inching upwards, people think about punishing the Democrats. This is another reason why I think early voting should be more limited in some cases. People are casting a ballot before debates are held, before final economic data is there, before they have, basically only partisans are going to participate because they already know who they're going to vote for. There are people out there that'll vote straight Dem. They don't even care about the economy. There are people that'll vote straight Republican just because Grandpappy was a Republican and they don't really care what happens. They already know who they're going to vote for. People who are maybe a little bit more thoughtful generally, I don't think, really early vote. Which is interesting. It's a rebuke of the Democratic Party being, more hyper-partisan, I suppose, than people who lean towards conservative politicking. They must be crapping themselves, big time. Again, when I saw this data, at first I was like, that can't possibly be right. There's got to be something wrong with the numbers because it deviates so far from the recent historical trend. Yeah, I know that Biden's down 10 points. I know the economy is not good. But that would point towards more than just a red trickle, more than just a red wave even. If that number holds true elsewhere, they're going to lose goddamn big time. Reminder that I will be going live on midterm night with Sleazy P. Martini. Of course, yesterday having the test stream generally went well. I had a couple of problems with archive, and so I'm probably not going to be using that election night for the most part, other than ridiculing maybe some tweets that turn out to be completely wrong. We'll be live riffing on that. Mostly I'll be paying attention to an electoral map. I will need people, by the way, and this is a call to the clankers. To those of you still watching, you're the higher attention span clankers anyway. You're more likely to send me news tips probably and shit. I will need links to live updating pages. that I don't need to repeatedly refresh that will give election news. I'm going to need that. I'm going to have to put that into the side as me and Sleazy give continuing coverage. And it looks like we will be able to have guests aboard. I figured out how to do that, although StreamYard, it's more simplistic than some sites maybe for streaming, but it'll get the job done. I'll probably also be going live on Odyssey on midterm night. I'll probably add that in there. I will not be able to pay attention to chat. It's going to be impossible because I don't have a second screen. But yeah, it's going to be a real fun time. If these numbers are any indicator, it's probably going to be followed by an after party at Zhank's place. That's about all. Peace out.